And good afternoon, and welcome to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at Five show, and Katherine Tyson, your host, welcoming you to Thursdays. This is Success 101. We talk to young Caymanian who's doing great things in the community and who's achieved a level of success that we need to be talking about and we need to hear about. So today, that's what we're doing. So thank you so much for joining us on the show this afternoon. Of course, this is kind of like my Friday because today is our last day of the week for Straight Talk. So I'm excited about that. I know you guys are winding down, getting ready for your Friday and getting ready for the weekend, and hope that you had a great day today. I want to say happy birthday to a friend of mine, Dr. Anita Davis Defoe. She is celebrating her birthday today, and I know she's listening in from North Carolina. Happy birthday, Dr. Defoe. And many wishes for just an amazing long life with great health and joy and love and all of the good stuff that life can bring you. And you bring so much joy to so many people. As I have a couple of students, I want to wish Sabrina happy birthday, Jada happy birthday, as well as Jamal happy birthday, and fellow Sagittarians. So just happy birthday to you guys, and may you get all the joy in your life and all the success that you can achieve and stay on track and just continue to be amazing. So those are my birthday greetings this afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome again to the show. Just so excited to be talking to Dr. Larissa Johnson this afternoon. Good afternoon, Larissa. Thank you so much for joining
Good
us.
afternoon.
I know you had a little bit difficulty getting here, but you're here. But you're
Yes.
here. You're here, and life gets in the way sometimes.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
so excited that you are here. Before I start each show, I like to, say something motivational. And today, because it's Thursday Success 101, I want to say this from Earl Nightingale: Never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. The time will pass anyway. I
Mm.
love that statement because I always talk about that. If 5 years passes by and you can say, geez, oh my gosh, like 5 years ago, I was thinking this and I wanted to do this. And you know what? I can't believe the 5 years has passed by. Like if you're blessed with life, that time will pass. So never ever worry about how long it'll take. I'll hear people saying, oh, I would love to go to college, but oh my goodness, it's so long. 4 years, 5 years. And Dr. Johnson, we are going to be talking about how long it took for you to be getting here, sitting in this chair. And she walked in and I said, oh my goodness, what are you, 17? She looks amazing, which is going to work for her. And you're still very, very young and just at the height of your career in terms of academically, and it's just amazing. I'm just so happy that you could join me this afternoon. So we definitely want to kind of delve into your background. So I'll just read a little bit about you and then we will start the conversation. So Larissa Johnson was born in the Cayman Islands. She holds a bachelor and master's of science and a doctorate degree in forensic psychology and exceptionality in human learning at the honors level. She's the lead for the clinical team at Her Majesty's Cayman Islands Prison Service, where she develops and delivers psychological services to assess the needs of those who are imprisoned and subsequently reduce the risk of harm to others and self, including the risk of reoffending. She also works to reduce emotional distress and enhance personal well being and social engagement to the individual. Dr. Johnson is a young Caymanian with a passion for helping others. She works with individuals whom society has ostracized. Her goal is to instill hope in those who are imprisoned through delivery of compassionate care, whilst also trying to increase community awareness of the importance of welcoming the previously imprisoned back into our society with warmth and non judgment. Some of her accomplishments to date are publishing a research article in Aggression and Violent Behavior entitled Rape Myth Acceptance in Convicted Rapists. Even though she has a massive fear of public speaking, Dr. Johnson has presented her findings at the New Directions in Sex Offender Practice Conference in 2018. One of her top desires in life work is to get people to believe in therapy and the power of healthy relationships. My goodness, I love reading bios and I love for people to hear that was them. Like that's you. Like feel it, know it, that's you. And congratulations. That's an amazing bio for a
Thank
young
you.
person like yourself. And what we started talking about, I think as soon as we started talking before we went on the air was that you're very accomplished at this age of your life, and it's really a great thing that you are representing Caymanians out there,
Yes.
people that look
Yeah.
like you, people that look like me, right? So that you can inspire, young women, young men, young Caymanians that, yeah, it is possible. Start us out with your journey. Like, when did you know this is what you wanted to do? And then we're going to just talk about what you do. Yeah.
When did I know? um, Actually didn't know until university.
Okay.
Um, I guess we were talking a bit earlier, but what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be a doctor, and I still have med books at home that I used to read through. But I wanted to be a medical doctor, but I really had no reason why. It was just kind of like one of those things that you see everyone doing or you see it on TV. Um, but actually, what sparked my interest in psychology was an English teacher I'd had in high school. We were reading this book called Ant Hills of the Savannah by Chinua Achebe. And there were three main characters in the novel. And my teacher said, for our essay, he was like, go home and research id, ego, and superego. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And so then I learned about, Freud's id, ego, superego, and I got really into psychology. And then during my A levels, I started taking psychology at UCCI in the evenings, and then just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I actually first went to uni to become a forensic investigator, so a
Okay.
scenes of crime officer. And I went there, so I double majored in forensic science and psychology. And then you learn that it is not like CSI at all.
Right.
And very quickly got really bored of, we had to process a mock crime scene. And I thought, well, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I switched. I then specialized in forensic psychology, loved every minute of it, and decided that that's what I wanted to do with my future. So went on to
Right.
do a master's after that and then a doctorate.
Wow. And so now let's talk about that quickly, and
Mm,
then we're going to go back and forth, right?
yes.
But quickly, let's talk about how long that took you, because I hear a lot of people, especially young people,
Mm,
and that's why I read that that quote just now about time passing and not worrying about how long it takes. You'll hear a lot of people saying, "Oh my goodness, oh, I would love to do that, but that's going to take me 7 years. That's going to take me
mm.
8 years." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're 17.
Yeah.
You're 20. Like, can you imagine at 27 you're going to be a doctor? Like, come on, dude, it's
Yes.
not a big deal. Like, that's the amazing part,
Mm,
not the years that it will take you to get there, but when you get there, how young you'll be, and that will be behind you, and you will now have this amazing opportunity to live this incredible life as
yeah.
well as help people. So how long did that take you? Because you went right after high school. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I did A levels, so years 12 and 13. And
Right.
then I went to Canada for 4 years to do my bachelor's. Then I went to University of Kent for my master's. That was 1 year. And then I
Okay.
actually came back home and had a trainee psychologist post in the prison,
Okay.
and did that for a year, got onto the doctorate program. That was 3 years. So all in all, about nine-ish years.
Amazing,
So
though.
yeah.
Amazing. No, amazing, amazing. And you and I were joking because you asked if I was Caitlin's mom, and we were joking about my own kids, kind of like when they'd complain, I'd say, "Do you have 3 kids?" Because I went to school with 3 kids, and then, so my question would always be, "Did you got 3 kids? Oh, that's what I thought. Go, go register for the new semester." Any excuse like, "Oh,
Yeah.
so, do you have 3 kids?" No, okay. And that's the point, right? That you really you hunker down, and then it sounded like you had some moments in there where you got that little break and you
Mhm.
practiced for a year, and then you still went back. But how does it feel now? Like, is it surreal for you to be like, what are you, 30? Yeah, 30
Yes.
years old.
Yeah.
So what does that feel like to be to have your PhD or your doctorate, to be a forensic psychologist at this level
Mm.
at this age? How does that feel?
I don't I can't really describe it. I just know I'm not done. I
Yeah.
just know I'm not done. So I I became qualified, so I passed my like thesis defense when I was 27. So I got my doctorate at 27, and then I worked in the UK for a couple of years and moved
Wow.
back home. Um, and it was kind of like I knew then, like I love doing what I do, which
Yes.
I think is really important as well. Like when you find it, do it for a really long time, as long as
Right.
you love it for. I love therapy, but I know it's not the only thing I'm going to be doing.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I don't know how it feels. It feels great to be able to get up and do something that I love every day.
Yeah.
And I know that not a lot of people get to say that at any age.
Yeah. You're
You know,
absolutely right.
and I feel really blessed and really fortunate to, at the age of 30, say that I get to do what I love
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. And I put that work in, and that's how
Hmm.
I get to do what
Yeah.
I love. And that, I think, is the part of the reason that I think Thursday Success 101 is so important
Mm,
for the people that are listening, for the people that they touch in their lives, for them to hear that you put the work in. You first decide, what do you want to do?
mm,
What's burning in your belly? That's always my question. And start looking at ways that you can do that, and
yeah.
not think that you can't do it. That's just for someone else. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
And I always say, don't let money be the problem, because money somehow finds you.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Tell us about
I
that.
do.
Because people don't believe that, but it's the
I
truth.
cannot tell you actually, because going to a North American university, that's
Right?
money. and, um, and I was on the government scholarship, and then that was then supplemented by my mom, kind of adding on to that,
Of
because that
course.
was 30 grand a year.
Of course.
And then in my
And
second
that was just for
year,
university. That wasn't for
yes,
living.
no.
I know.
We fell on hard times in my second year of uni.
Yeah.
And then by grace of God, this new scholarship came out, and I was like, let me go, let me get on that.
That's
And I
right.
was able to get that. I got a couple of grants, and these things they happen.
And they add up.
And I am a firm believer in kind of anything that's for you is for you,
That's
and
right.
you're gonna get it.
But you just got to get in line.
Yeah.
You gotta start it.
Yeah, and
You
it
can't
came,
wait for it to find you. You
Yeah.
start it, and then it finds you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. And then doing your master's, then how was that kind of funded?
So that was again through the Cayman Islands government has really like they're the reason I'm here today.
The grace of God. Thank you.
Like,
Thank you, Cayman
yes,
Islands
the
government.
scholarships. And then obviously the UK's tuition fees are drastically different. They're so much lower than in North America.
That's
So I
amazing.
was able to support myself
Good stuff.
throughout my master's, throughout my doctorate.
Yeah.
I actually worked during my doctorate as well, which
Yeah.
was hard.
Yeah.
So that I could pay for like trips and stuff
Right.
out of my own money. But
Right.
yeah, no, the government scholarship really went a long way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I did my master's in 9 months.
Mm.
So I always tell people, I feel like I was being choked
Yeah.
for literally. Someone was holding me down, choking the
Oh
life
my
out of me.
gosh.
But after 9 months, I could breathe.
Yeah.
I was still alive, and I had a master's, and and that just was an opportunity to do better things in my career and
Yes.
be able to provide a better life for myself. And I happen to have children as well. So it's so worth it. It's so worth it. But you gotta first,
100%.
listeners, like, don't even think for a second that we are joking. We are not joking. You just heard Dr. Larissa Johnson tell you it will find you. So don't just think it's just Catherine talking foolishness. It is not Catherine talking foolishness. And I don't talk foolishness anyway, but for real though. So you finished at 27. So you've been doing this now for about 3 years, but you were working in the UK first.
Yes.
Okay. And that was you just feeling like you were going to train a little bit overseas?
Yes. Yeah. So I
Good stuff.
wanted international experience so I did my so how the practice doctorate works is that you're doing research like you do in a PhD. You can do some teaching and training, but a large part of that is actually the practical experience. So you're going into hospitals, you're going into communities, you're going into prisons, you're running treatment programs, doing assessments, all these things. You're getting the practical experience.
Okay.
And then I wanted that experience, but I also wanted to make sure I had qualified experience working in the UK
Yeah.
before moving back home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important because you bring a wealth of knowledge as well, and I'm sure you bring some differences. You bring a cultural difference that you
Yeah.
could use here, but also compare it as well, right? So it
Yes,
has a lot to do
100%.
with how you deliver.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
good.
it's really interesting. I love I love when young Caymanians go away, they learn, they come back because it's different when you're from here. You're able to do this really cool thing of merging the knowledge that you have from,
Yes,
Western countries and the knowledge that you have about growing up in a different culture and merging those two things and making
yes,
it work for the people that you're working with and working for. And
absolutely.
it's just, yeah, that's one
Yeah.
of the best parts of
Yeah, I think so.
it.
And you get to speak on it as well because we are so international in Cayman alone. We
Yeah.
have so many people from so many different places, and we are kind of we're shoulder to shoulder with them, and we're working
Mhm.
alongside them. And so when you have knowledge from a different standpoint or a different viewpoint, it really enhances what it is that you can bring,
Yeah.
as opposed to you've not left here, you've only studied here, you don't have that international experience.
Mm.
Sometimes I feel that I don't even know if it's on purpose, but I feel that you can be discounted sometimes when you don't
Yes.
have that abroad
Mm.
experience. So that world experience really does allow you to really be able to weigh in
Mm.
from a different level, and I love that.
Yeah, you are heard differently. I mean, it's a bit of an unfortunate reality
Yeah,
because, the individuals that were trained here and became educated here should not be discredited.
right.
But again, the reality is they're not heard as loudly as someone who went overseas to particular countries and have come back.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
absolutely. I mean, I,
Mm.
I found that when I was studying in the States, that I would sometimes, be asked for my opinion or listen to even from a different level from my professors than
Mm.
someone else who had never left. Like I had a couple of people from Alabama,
Yes.
and they had never left Alabama, and they were in Florida now doing the masters, and it would always be, so Catherine, you had said something earlier
Mhm.
about this, and it would always be that, and they'd be like, oh my, why do you always ask her? Right. And it's, I mean, I've lived in so many different places
Yeah.
in the States, and I've lived in Cayman, and I had been practicing here, and now it's back in the States to do my master's. It was a very different viewpoint. And
Mm.
so I think it's not just Caymanians that would get that in their own country, but even when you come out of your country,
Yeah.
you do have kind of a little more of that expert,
Mm.
you're looked at more from an expert level, that okay, you can give me three different experiences, wherein
Yes.
someone might be only giving me an experience from Alabama, for instance.
Yes.
So that's what I always encourage young people and parents to, let them spread their wings, let them
Yeah,
go away,
100%.
let them study abroad, let
You
them
just become
visit.
it's such a rich experience. Like there's no value. Like I can't put a price on that.
Right.
Just leaving the country, learning about different cultures. I always think back to like my first Christmas in the UK when I was coming back home,
Right.
and I had a friend from Syria. I said, "Oh, what are you guys doing for Christmas?" And he said, "Well, we can't go back home. We're refugees." And you don't actually think
Right.
about those things because
Wow.
you are in your own bubble. You only know what you know. You don't know what you don't know
Right.
until you're exposed
You only
to
know what you
something.
know, and you
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I like that. You only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. That's good. That's a good one. Good one. It's true.
Yeah. So really got to open ourselves up to other experiences than our own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And in your bio, it said that you don't like public speaking, and I told you earlier,
No.
you've got, listen, I don't care if you don't like it, you're going to need to be able to do it because people need to hear your voice. You
Mm.
have a lot to say, you have a lot to contribute, and we want to hear our Caymanian speaking. We
Mm.
want to hear, our own, because sometimes it's like a family thing. When somebody talks about your family, you don't want to hear that. You can talk
Yeah.
about them, but
Yeah.
don't listen. I can talk
Exactly.
about my family, but you don't talk about my family. I feel the same way when it comes to us being professionals in our own country,
Mm,
the way that we approach things is from a very different level. Like they're my own Caymanians. So
yeah.
I'm not trying to crucify them, whereas
Mm,
someone else might come in and be like, oh, listen, this is how they are. But yet, when they're talking about their own country, they'll have a little more compassion. So I
yes.
do believe there's value in that, and in having our own people here that are working closely with other people as well.
Yeah.
We need to also be a part of it. Um, how many people that you work with currently that are from here that are at your level then do you think that you're working alongside
Our
that are
Caymanian?
Caymanians?
One. Hold up.
Okay,
Hmm.
just
Yeah, in my
thinking. Yeah,
immediate team, um, I mean, there are people who have been here a long time, but they're not
right.
Caymanian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're kind of, yeah, you're kind of carrying
One.
that flag, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's good. And that's good. And so there's room for more.
Yes. Well, that's why I came. That's why I came on. Because when my friend reached out to me and told me about this show, my immediate thought was, "Oh God, no! I don't want to be. I don't want to be on the radio."
Right.
um, but then I thought about, being a young Caymanian in this role and actually growing up in a time, and I think it's actually a bit it's less so now, but still quite similar in that, I was told you had a couple of options, accounting or law.
Oh
And
wow.
that
Oh
those
wow.
that's what you got to choose from, accounting, law, or you want to be a doctor. Um, and I didn't want any of those things.
Yeah.
And I think these what you're doing here is really great, exposing people to options
Yes. Thank you.
and dreams.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, people should be able to think about what they want, feel it, love it, and go do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. And I like last week we talked to David Gordon. He's a real estate agent,
Yeah.
and that there's not a whole lot of
My
Caymanians.
real estate agent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at that. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. So you see, we are selling real estate every day, every minute of the day in the Cayman Islands.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I Maseratis are passing me,
Mhm.
like Bentleys are passing me. So we got a lot of people coming here that are purchasing
Yeah.
property. And so why aren't more Caymanians in any field? So there shouldn't be that accounting, that law, and a doctor. It should be whatever it is that you want to be.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to take 9 years or 7 years. It doesn't mean that it even has to take a university degree. It could be a course. It could be a
Yes.
certificate course. Why are there not more Caymanians that are in the construction field, that are
Yes.
foremen, in the construction field, that are running their own companies? Why aren't there more Caymanians that are, just in the bartending,
Mhm.
right? I mean, there's just so many barbers. Like, just think of all of the things that happen in our country that people are making lucrative incomes with.
Yes,
They're living great
100%.
lives. Why not? Yeah. So it's time for us to open that up. And I think that that's what this was really about. Like, let's talk to the Caymanians that are doing amazing things. Like one we were talking to, she has one of the top like spas in the Florida
Oh,
area.
wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
like
mean, that sounds
just
great.
right? Exactly. Like really, really good. So yeah, so definitely this is really what this is for, just to inspire everyone who's listening, to be inspired not only for yourself but for your children that you're raising, or your sister's
Mm,
children, or just young people that you come in contact with. Just inspire them, like, listen, it can be done. Just first get the dream, first figure it out. What do I want to do?
mhm.
Okay, who do I need to talk to?
Yeah.
Do I need to reach out to Dr. Johnson to find out how she did it? Do I need to reach out to Catherine? Do I need to reach out to Caitlin?
Mhm.
Do I need to reach out to Cottrell from Psyche and
Yeah.
Catherine Jackson? Who do I need to reach out to? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to see? And that's it. Like, for us to feel that whole kind of community spirit of how we're going to help each other get to that next level,
Yes.
because the possibilities are there. So I'm very happy that you came on this afternoon. I want to talk a little bit about what you do.
Okay.
So we can start that, and then we're going to take a little break, because that's really important to me. It's important, when you made this decision that that's what you wanted to do. I know you talked
Yeah.
about forensic
Yes.
stuff, and I know I watch a lot of those programs. I
Mhm.
watch, yeah, This America's Most Wanted, and I can't even name. I'm a killer. Like I watch, like yeah,
Wait, there's a show that's
it's called
called I'm a
I
Killer?
Am a Killer.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
do you not watch
No, it's just
Netflix?
straightforward. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they had two series on it, like two seasons.
Oh.
Oh yes, yes.
Mm,
Oh my
new show.
goodness. Oh, all of them. I watch all of those, and it's always interesting to me because they talk a lot about crime scenes, and you just mentioned that the
Mhm.
forensic part of it that you're interested in. And so whenever I see them kind of going through crime scenes and
Yeah.
talking about the person, and then they always go back to the person's life and
Yep.
their beginnings, and how things started for them, and they show photos, or they'll be family members and different people talking about this 2-year-old child or this 4-year-old child. And so it's so important for me to kind of piece together, not just this monster that
Yes.
people are now, and this is speaking your language, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because that's the end result, and everybody's like, oh my goodness, this is a monster. But actually this is a whole person, and if we
Yes.
kind of go back to the beginning. So I think when you mentioned the forensics part of it,
Mhm.
I didn't think it was not, it wasn't a connection. I thought it was an absolute connection that you could want to switch
Yes. Yeah.
somehow. Yeah. So I really would love to talk to you about that. I think not a lot of people talk about it. I think it's kind of that area where it's like, okay, you do that, you do that, and but
Well,
yeah, it's an area. So
what do you want to know?
yeah, so well, how you connected, how you kind of felt like you made that switch,
Hmm.
from the forensic part of it to working with people, that have
Yeah, so
these
working with the
issues.
living,
Yeah,
which is essentially what I
exactly.
did. I moved from wanting to work on crime scenes to working with living, breathing people.
Yeah.
How did I make that connection? Well, I was already doing psychology. So I went to the University of Toronto, and as a minimum, you have to double major.
Okay.
So my major was forensic science and psychology. And so I was already doing a bunch of psychology courses, and I loved every single one of them except for neuropsychology. And um, once I decided I didn't want to do forensic investigation, I just made the switch quite easily to forensic psychology. Um, and forensic has to just do kind of with, it comes from the word forenses, meaning forum. So kind of think about the courts. So forensic psychology is the intersection of the law and psychology. And there's so many different things that you can do in this field. What I do is I basically do a lot of assessments of risk. So, risk of harm to the public, risk of harm to other people. And that could be violent harm, that could be sexual harm, that could be risk in relationships and things like that. But then I also do treatment, which is my favorite part.
Okay.
Um, which can involve, kind of talking therapies. It can involve doing offending behavior groups, which is kind of learning different ways of thinking, different ways of meeting your needs, safer ways of meeting your needs
Okay.
that don't cause harm. I have worked in so I've done sex offender treatment programs. I've worked with people with severe personality disorders. I've worked with people with severe and enduring mental illnesses. Um, just doing various kinds of therapies.
All right.
Yeah, I
All right.
think largely our role is giving people options.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
let's definitely hold it there,
Yeah.
and we'll talk a little bit more when we come back. So just stay tuned. You are listening to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show with your host, Catherine Tyson. You're listening to my guest, Dr. Larissa Johnson. And this is Success 101. That's what we bring you on Thursdays. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned, please. And welcome back to Straight Talk. This is your Drive at 5 show. It is Thursday, so that's Success 101. This is your host, Katherine Tyson, and I am speaking to my guest, Dr. Larissa Johnson. And we are basically just having a discussion about her journey to where she is right now. We talk about the success of young Caymanians every Thursday and the things that they're doing in their field. And she's actually the lead for the clinical team at Her Majesty's Cayman Islands Prison Service. And she has a bachelor's, a master's of science, and a doctorate degree in forensics psychology and exceptionality in human learning. So, she brilliant. She's brilliant. That's all I have to say. And we're here talking about, just some of the things that she's doing. Um, you know, Larissa, we were talking a little bit about just some of the areas that you work in,
Mm,
yeah. And um, I think for most of us in an area like this, there is there is kind of like I guess a need for understanding,
yes.
right? And that's what you do.
Yes.
So do you find that because in your bio I just read a lot about almost like fighting a lot of battles,
Yeah.
like for people to understand, uh, not to throw away the baby with the bathwater,
Yes,
almost,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
how do we integrate people that have committed certain crimes back into society?
Yeah.
That must be something.
Compassion.
Yeah,
I mean, it really comes down to remembering someone as a whole person, exactly as you said.
yeah,
Um, it's something that I say all the time. A person is more than just one thing,
right,
one bad decision, one mistake, one crime.
right.
Um, and, you know, if you want me to be straight with it, these people are coming back into your community.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, right? And I think that part of it. So there's like two sides, that you can look at. Is that when somebody commits a crime that someone might deem horrendous, or you've
Mm,
harmed someone. Obviously, harming
yeah.
someone is huge, right? It's bad enough that you're doing something, but then you're physically harming someone.
Mm,
And so the first part is to kind of lock them up, throw away the key.
yeah.
But in the event that that doesn't happen, because that person is also connected to people and they're a whole
Mm-hmm.
person, and so now you're giving them a chance to come back into society. There's a couple of thought process, right? So one process is that they're going to come back into society anyways, so you might as well have worked closely with them in order
Yes.
for these things to not happen again,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So it's either lock them up, throw away the key, which is unrealistic. It's not compassionate.
Not at all. But it's some people's reality, I think.
Yeah,
And I understand where it comes from. I understand the want to punish. That's why prisons were built in the way that they were.
right,
Um, they weren't built to be kind of caring, safe environments. But also, we know after years and years of having prisons and years of them failing that they don't work like that. They
right,
don't work when you just punish. What works is thinking about a person's needs and how you can best support someone to meet their needs.
right,
That's really what it comes down to. Every day you leave your home, you go to work because that's, it might be something you love. So you want to do that. It gives you a sense of fulfillment. You go and buy groceries because you need to eat. You get a paycheck because it puts a roof over your head. You're trying to, every action you make is to meet some kind of need.
right,
Okay. And I think when you are, so for example, myself, I'm quite privileged, whether that is because of education and because of the doors that has opened for me, or I knew someone who knew someone and then that got me in a particular door.
right,
It means that my worldview is going to look a lot different from someone who did not have access to that same privilege.
right,
So me getting my needs met is going to look quite straightforward and a lot safer in what we're used to. So it's really easy for me to judge someone who chooses an unsafe option to have their needs met, which might mean robbing a store so I can get some money, so I can get some food.
Right.
you know. So I think society really needs to take a look at itself and,
Right.
and think about, what's really, what are we really going to lose by offering compassion, offering a helping hand to people who are coming back into the community, and just building a support network around them. They're more likely to succeed that way than if we were to just shun them and forget about them.
And ostracize them.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's what I'm working towards.
Yeah. And so some of the things that you're doing are, and obviously, I think the main thing is change behavior, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you're working with that you think are effective?
Right now, what I do, it's just a weird thing to say. I love trauma treatment, but there are a lot of people who come into the prison system who have histories of trauma. Uh, the most effective, two of the most kind of effective ways of working are a strong therapeutic relationship, so building trust and collaboration in that room, and then a strong support network, which means when they leave prison, who do they have? That's actually one of the determining factors in how well someone will cope with historical trauma.
Okay.
Um, so yeah.
So I have a question. If someone does not get that kind of help,
Mhm.
say someone does something and I don't know, some people don't necessarily know about it per se. And so what you're talking about is very straightforward. So they did something, they got punished for it,
Mhm.
and now they have to be integrated into society, and they've had the work or the opportunities for help, and so they have a strong therapeutic relationship, and they have a strong, network system. Suppose it's someone who doesn't have the either of those. They've
Yeah.
not necessarily been punished per se. And so they're basically kind of living, almost living a lie a little bit, maybe like
Mm.
they're hiding. It almost feels like it's a secret. Do you think that people can get better or change uh, without without like acknowledging it?
Intervention?
Yeah, I mean that's just a
Well,
question.
yeah.
That's a professional
Hmm.
question that I'm asking you.
Sounds
Yeah,
a bit philosophical a little bit
yeah,
as well
yeah.
without acknowledging it. I don't I guess personally I probably would say I don't believe that, because I think to change you need to acknowledge that something needs to be changed.
Right.
That would
Instead
be
of
the
acting
first
like it
step.
just didn't
Yeah.
happen.
If it doesn't exist to you, then what do you need to change?
Right.
Really?
Wow.
Um, so yeah, I mean, acknowledgement, I mean, awareness is really the first step in all of this.
Yes.
Um, and that doesn't come from me sitting in a chair across from you telling you you need to change. That's
Right.
not what my job is.
That's from
You
you
know,
inside of
yes,
yourself,
100%.
knowing that you've done something or what you did is wrong or whatever,
Yeah.
you acknowledging that it's wrong, not someone saying, that's wrong. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have done that. But the almost like that conscience that you have.
Yes.
And so that's the first place that'll start in order for you to heal anyway,
Yeah.
because you need healing.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's about wanting something different for yourself,
Yeah.
because even when you get into right and wrong, there's so many societal definitions about what is right and what is wrong. But really, where you are now, are you happy with that?
Right.
Would you like to change that? All
Right.
right. So I'm here to help support you in that.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
yeah.
Now, the thing that you wrote on the article, publishing that article,
Mhm.
Aggression and Violent Behavior, entitled Rape, Myth, Acceptance, and Convicted Rapists. What was kind of the whole theory behind that?
So rape myth acceptance. So rape myths are just myths about rape. So misunderstandings or erroneous beliefs that people have about rape and sexual assault. So, for example, if a woman is wearing a really short skirt, then she deserved it. Or if she was flirting with a guy, then she led him on, etc., etc. So, rape myth acceptance is how much someone endorses those myths.
Ah,
So I was just researching whether the endorsement of those myths was higher in persons who were convicted of sexual offending versus people who were not convicted of sexual offending. Um, and so I did what's called a systematic literature review. So basically read a whole lot of papers and then brought all the information together.
okay.
Um, and found that actually, yeah, it is higher in in persons who are convicted of sexual offending. So basically, drawing a link between these myths that are regularly perpetuated in society. This is not just Caribbean culture. This is worldwide. Um, they there's this theory called the gatekeeper theory, in that it basically hmm, makes it okay to commit these assaults because these myths allow you to rationalize and justify your
Oh,
behaviors.
wow.
Yeah. So,
So it's directly connected.
yeah, there is a link, there's a correlation there. And then also, when you think about even just sitting on a jury in a courtroom and a sexual assault case comes before you, only 1% of sexual assault cases go to conviction. You know,
Wow.
and a large part of that is because people don't believe the victim, or they blame the victim, or they don't understand. I think people view sexual assault as like someone hiding in a bush, some stranger that comes out and pounces on you in the dark.
Is it 1%? Really?
Yeah,
So what happens to 99%?
they nothing.
Wow. Wow. Well, obviously 1% is a small number, but you still deal with a whole lot of numbers
Yes.
in the judicial system and the
Yes.
prison system as well. So, wow.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah. So, and this is your life's work.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think so with how you approach it then also is that you're dealing with the victim too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I am in the business of public protection.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of people do ask me, well, how can you work with them? I'm like, well, them is us. So they were a part of this community. They are a part of this community. And I don't want the community to be at risk of harm
Yeah.
either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's really how I ended up working here, and why I'm probably going to remain in this field for
Yeah.
quite some time.
So do you find sometimes that people might be kind of mad at you or
Mm,
against you and because you are working with somebody who has committed, a crime
yeah.
of this sort, but uh, you're not in any way excusing what they've
No,
done. So that needs
never.
to always be
Yeah.
clear. Yeah.
I mean, I can't, it's not, there's acceptance and there's approval. Acceptance is not approval.
Right.
I cannot change what they have done before they came to see me, before they came into my office. I have to accept that. I
Right.
do not approve of what took place.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes people are mad, but few and far between. Mostly people are curious
Yeah.
and wonder how and why, and what's it like to be a young female in a male dominated environment.
Right.
And I think prisons are these like really spooky, scary places that people think about. And sometimes, yep, I mean, sometimes they're not wrong.
Right.
I've
Right.
worked in
Yes.
I've worked in a couple of really dangerous prisons, but honestly, I think it just always comes down to the relationship that you have with people and that trust that you build,
Right.
yeah, to get working. So, I mean, some people are mad, most people are just curious about, what's going on
Yeah.
behind bars.
Yeah. But someone has to do it. Someone has to,
Yeah.
because it's the reality of, like you said, they they the people that you're working with are not the us against them. We're
Yeah.
all one. We're
Yeah.
all one people. We're all one community, and they come back, and we all
Yes.
have to work together. We have to figure out a way for us to be safe and be
Hmm.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important. What are you doing now? What are you working on now?
What am I working on
Yeah,
now?
professionally, because you mentioned that you're doing some other masters or
Yeah, I
something,
started
as
another
if you didn't have
master's.
enough.
And it's funny because when I told I told a couple of people and they said the same thing you did. They're like, wait, I thought you had a doctor. I'm like, yes, I do, but now this is something else.
Okay.
And so yeah, I'm doing master's of science in business and organizational psychology.
Okay. And so what's
Um,
the difference with that? What are you
so
seeking to gain from that?
So I became interested in this after working in prison for the first time
Okay.
and thinking about employee well-being and safety and psychological safety.
Okay.
Um, every prison I've worked in, communication breakdowns, it feels unsafe, not necessarily physically unsafe because of you working with prisoners and stuff, but actually because you can't trust the people you're working with. We're not collaborating well. Why isn't this working? Why aren't we looking after each other? Why, from a leadership role, am I having people? I'm not retaining people. People are going off sick all the time. What is happening? How can I better take care of my employees? So
Okay.
I was really I just like taking care of people, really. So this was
Yeah.
just one another level. This
Another
is more
way.
at an organizational level. So, my I guess my goal with this is to go into consulting, go into businesses, do assessments, see what's going on, what the issues are in the organization,
Okay.
how to get better team working, how to have teams feel like they can have a sense of openness and safety and trust, collaboration, how
Right.
teams can feel empowered to do their work,
Absolutely.
and really engaged in their work. And it really comes down to when you work like that, then you're going to work better for the service users or clients or customers, whomever it is that you're serving.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm sitting here across from Dr. Larissa Johnson, and I'm just having like a moment in my life. Yesterday or the day before, I was talking to DCFS, and I was talking to Paulinda Mendoza
Mhm.
Williams, who's the director. And I remember, 22 years ago, she and I started the same time, and she's the
Oh.
director. I'm sitting across from her, and I said that to her. I said, "Who would have thought that we'd be
Mm.
having this conversation?" And I'm here having a conversation with 30-year-old Dr. Larissa Johnson, and I know in 10 or 20 years, I'm going to be sitting across from the director of something, or maybe the head of that prison. So don't you even be playing, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And thank
Mm.
God that that's what should be happening, because so it's in good hands. And like
Thank
I
you.
literally, and it's funny because sometimes people can't see 20 years from now, but
Mm.
let me tell you something, it sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
It'd be on your back. You're like, where you came from? It's just yesterday. You weren't here yesterday. It was 20 years ago. So absolutely. I'm so proud of you.
Thank
And
you.
I know your parents must be over the moon about it, for what you're doing in our community, for what you're doing for our prison system, for the inclusiveness that you
Mm.
represent, the protection that you represent, the advocating that you represent, and the compassion and the understanding that you would like us all to have. And
Yes.
that's amazing. And coming from our own young Kimanian, wow, I couldn't ask for anything, but maybe some ice cream.
Yeah.
Maybe chocolate ice cream. Let just quickly, what's the difference you think? Because you did work in the UK
Yes.
before you came home. What is the difference you think in terms of? Are there any different dynamics? Kind of like, tell us a little bit about
Yeah,
it.
I mean I guess the issues that you come across are really different. Now, how do I put this? It was definitely a far more dangerous environment that I worked in the UK.
Okay.
I left hospital because I actually didn't like working in hospitals. We were attacked every day.
Oh wow.
It was just that was a constant. But that's actually not why I left. I didn't like seeing everyone over.
Okay.
It was traumatizing for me. So I
Right.
left that
And these would have
environment.
been like sexual offenders as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes.
Just medicated.
But
Okay.
they could be anyone who was deemed a risk to the public that had a severe and enduring mental illness
Okay.
would have been in hospital. And when I went to work in prisons, like my last prison, for example, was its nickname was Stabside.
Oh
Because
dear.
literally
Oh dear.
you're quivering the mother quiver. So it was a really dangerous environment. So it's not as dangerous here, in terms of those things that are going on. What I do like is that there's you have the opportunity for a unique way of working here because we're so small.
Okay.
Um, the relationships that officers have with prisoners here is amazing.
Right.
They have that opportunity to get on a level with them
Yeah.
that you don't really get to see in larger prisons. My
Yeah.
last prison was 12 to 1,300 people, and
Yeah.
this prison's now Northwood's about 180,
Oh,
Fairbanks
wow.
is about 12. So it's a really unique opportunity that we have that build those relationships, and kind of collaborative ways of working with people. So I really do love that about
Yeah.
working in Cayman.
And the relationships that you can build with family members as well.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yeah,
making that connection as opposed to in a larger place like the UK, the prisoner is your client, but
yes.
you don't necessarily have the
No, yeah, you
connections.
wouldn't link in with family members,
Yeah, and the
whereas
culture is
here,
so different too.
yeah.
So here you might be able to go to somebody's house,
Yeah.
talk to their mother, their wife, their sister, whatever, right, and be
Mhm.
in contact. Where in the UK it would be like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like it's just no, right?
And that actually does work though, because in my first placement where I lived was a smallish for the UK. It was called Northampton, and I worked with a hospital, and we went and did family visits. We were always in contact with the family. I was working with adolescents with autism and learning disabilities,
Okay.
um, and we were always in contact with the family, with education systems. And when you surround someone with that much support, it
Wow.
just goes to show how much more successful they can be. So that's why we have a really great opportunity to do really great things here in Cayman, because we can just surround people with that support.
Wow.
Mm.
Wow. So it sounds like you really have your work cut out for you though.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yes. But I'm sure you're kind of digging away and
Mm.
chipping away and communicating that definitely and trying to get all hands on deck
Yes.
and all that good stuff. Uh, you're listening to the voice of Dr. Larissa Johnson, and she is a young Caymanian. She's the lead for the clinical team at Her Majesty's Cayman Islands Prison Service. She has, a host of degrees, a doctorate degree in forensic psychology, and now she's working on another master's degree in organization and just getting all that stuff together and develops and delivers psychological services for the needs of her patients, right? Are you call them patients or
No, I say
clients or
service users,
okay, service
are
users?
people who are imprisoned. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. And yeah, so thank you so much for coming on this afternoon,
Thank you.
for talking about an area that is not talked about a lot, and it's not an area that is promoted when you're talking about further studies,
Yeah,
when you're talking
that's
about
so true.
what you want to be when you grow up. You never hear someone saying, I want to be a forensic psychologist, I want to work in a prison system, and you never hear that. You don't even hear people saying that they want to be authors. So
Yeah.
it's really lovely to be able to catch up with people on Thursdays and talk about success and talk about their road and their journey and how they made it possible and how it is possible.
Yes.
And to know that you're out there on that line in that area, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We appreciate all that you're doing
Thank you. Thank you
for
so
us.
much for having me.
Absolutely. We are very, very happy to have you. And of course, if you know of anyone who you think we should feature, let us know. We definitely want to hear about it and we'll want to bring them in and talk to them. I hope you've been inspired today by our guest and our conversation. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I hope you're home or you're almost there. And I wish you a great afternoon and a great weekend when it comes. And we will be back on next Monday for Medical Mondays, brought to you by Health City. This is your Straight Talk Drive at 5 show. I'm Catherine Tyson, your host, and I'm wishing you a great evening. Thank you again, Larissa.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, bye.